Ottessa Moshfegh is disgusting. I'm not criticizing her. I'm not praising her. I am simply stating something which I believe to be a cast iron fact. Ottessa Moshfegh tries to invoke the feeling of disgust in her readers, and I'm pretty confident that both lovers of Moshfegh and haters of Moshfegh will agree that that is a fair comment. There is just one question. Why? Lapvona is Moshfegh's fourth novel, and it is her first attempt at historical fiction. That this is a book that divides opinion is not too unusual. It is an Ottessa Moshfegh novel. She does that. But this is her fourth novel. Surely anybody who didn't like one of her other novels would, upon walking into the bookshop and seeing the striking cover with a dead sheep on it, think, yes, I will buy that book. Dead sheep are never disgusting. Would then see written in big blue letters the name Ottessa Moshfegh and think, no, never again. Leave it on the shelf for one of the Moshfegh sickos to pick up. That she has divided audiences again points to one thing. Moshfegh is finding new and interesting ways to shock, disgust, and upset her audience. I'm not going to tell you I think that this is a good book or a bad book. In truth, it doesn't really matter what I think of it. It matters what you will think of it. And everybody has different tastes. But if I make my video well, by the end of it, hopefully you will know whether this is a book that you will like. Love was a distinctly human defect which God had created to counterbalance the power of human greed. This quote feels like it could have been plucked from any Moshfegh novel. Characters that hate other characters are common in her work, but this quote sums up what Lapvona is all about. And it is one small word which does it so well. Was. Love was a. Was places love in the past tense, or more accurately, it removes it from the current tense. While was relegated love to the previous, the counterbalanced human power of greed is placed in the foreground. Google Dictionary defines greed as intense and selfish desire for something, especially wealth, food, or power. We see desire for all three, wealth, food, and power in this novel. But I think that it is power that we'll see the most of. Power. The power to hoard water, the power of the church, the power to stick a grape up somebody's anus and make somebody else eat it. Why? I did say Ottessa Moshfegh is disgusting. Lapvona itself is the name of a fiefdom where the events of the novel take place, but it's a historically inaccurate fiefdom. William is no knight. He doesn't provide or protect. He is a stunningly inept ruler who rules through brutality and incompetence, through guards and bandits, through foolery and fear. He hoards water during a drought. He has people following him around, telling him he's brilliant regardless of what happens, and he hates to be embarrassed. I'm going to assert something now. William is a representation of Donald Trump, but not exactly Donald Trump. He's a combination of inspired by Trump and a mockery or critique of Trump. This fascination we have with Trump being a terrible president, I don't get it. I'm not arguing a pro-Trump agenda here. I'll say it. He was a terrible president. But it's like we've all forgotten about Reagan, Nixon, and Bush. And let's not be so partisan. William hoards water during a drought, causing his citizens to starve. I could take this as a representation of the hoarding of wealth or the lack of climate action that we currently see. These are things that every Democratic president has failed to address. But let's not be so US-centric. This is true of all leaders in Australia, in Britain, Canada, Europe, Africa, Asia. The reason William is Trump is not because Trump is an outlier. It is because Trump wasn't exceptional. Because Trump himself is a caricature of all the other presidents, of all the other rulers. William is a caricature of a caricature. William is Trump in the same way that Trump is Biden, Clinton, Boris Johnson, Joseph Stalin, Henry VIII, or any other ruler you can name. Power and ruling are interesting things. How does one come about it? When William dies or retires, who will take over from him? And will they be stunningly inept too? I think we can answer that question by looking at our own world and asking, when has anybody actually done a good job of ruling? When was the last time you voted for somebody instead of against somebody else? Murray is 13 and he lives with his father Jude. They care for sheep, they live in a house, and Jude beats the daylights out of Murray. Murray accepts this. He hopes that the beatings will take him to heaven, but he hopes that he's strong enough so that he hasn't forced Jude into murdering him. Despite the beatings, Jude is idolized by Murray. The relationship is a microcosm for the relationship the villagers have with William. If we let those in power get away with it, they'll kill you, or at least let you die. And that's what Jude does with Murray after Murray commits a serious crime. Give him to the authorities. Give him to William. This motif is repeated again with Ina and Murray. When Murray visits Ina to innocently suckle from her, I promise we'll get to the suckling in a second, Ina convinces Murray to suckle at her lady garden. This is a gross misuse of trust and power, and it's something you should find disgusting. Murray is 13. Why does Ina do it? Because she can. Because she has power. Power and greed. Power seems to come with trust, and trust can be violated. Ina speaks to birds. She keeps them in cages and looks after them, earning a living through them. But when William withholds the water and she needs to eat, well, the birds become food. Ina is looking out for herself first. Would you eat your own pet dog? It's a powerful metaphor about consuming what sustains us, what the bourgeoisie used to call living off capital, power, and greed. And Murray is not the only character raped in this novel. Agatha is also raped, more than once. But Agatha has her tongue cut out. She cannot speak. I cannot help but to see something very representative of the patriarchy in that metaphor. But it goes one step further. Jude doesn't even realize he has raped Agatha. Actually, he thinks he's treating her quite well. Jude is from the "I just opened the door for you 5 minutes ago, why haven't you sucked me off yet" crowd. Jude, of course, has power in this situation, the power being his size and strength. Agatha, of course, is silent. Even though this is feminist, we go back to our themes of power and greed. What I find interesting is that with all I've said, there are 3 things that will disgust people the most. 1, all the excrement. 2, the suckling. And 3, the cannibalism. Excrement. I'm going to focus on the grape scene. William places his head near Elizabeth's bum, comments on how bad it smells, gets a grape, suggests that Murray puts it down his pants, but being impatient, he decides to shove it up Murray's back passage and then feed it to Elizabeth. Humiliation at the hands of power. Elizabeth is expected to keep a jovial spirit through this. Elizabeth later imagines William eating excrement, but it's in her imagination. What has changed? The power. Suckling. Murray's only pleasure in life is to suckle at the tit of Ina, a witch. But it's not a sexual thing. It's nurturing, mothering, love. Moshfegh could have made Ina hold Murray. A cuddle would have served a similar purpose. Yet she picks suckling. Love is the counterbalance for greed. I have questions over how much Ina loves Murray. But Ina is the only one to cease her abuse. The only one to do it just a bit. To not take it constantly once she knows she can. The suckling is there to demonstrate love, but the paedophilic oral sex should be more shocking, and that is a demonstration of greed. Cannibalism. During the drought, the people resort to eating one another to stay alive. And I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but can you better demonstrate your power over somebody else than by eating them. We can still see this as the consequences of other actions. It's not random cruelty, it serves a basic function. Eating people stops you from starving. But it is especially disgusting. The meat is not a fresh kill. They are eating the head and not the leg. What is power and greed if not cannibalism? Eating people should disgust you, but it's a reminder. Nobody will forget Lapvona included cannibalism, and that's the point. You won't forget these incidences. You won't forget the excrement, the suckling, or the cannibalism. Is disgust the strongest of human emotions? It stops us getting sick, keeping us alive. It lets us know that excrement might kill us, but that grapes usually nourish. It interacts with fear to protect us from dangerous animals. It also makes us prejudiced against people we don't understand. It is the only human emotion that can predict our political views. It is a force of social cohesion and of social prejudice. It is a bigger emotion than love. If your loved one was dunked in a bucket of diarrhea, would you kiss them? You probably don't even like kissing them when they haven't brushed their teeth. Disgust has the power. It leaves a mark. It is memorable. And that is the key. That's what Ottessa Moshfegh is doing. She uses disgust to help you remember the important points. She uses disgust to highlight them.